Oh, Brandon, thanks for joining. Ah, checking in from Orlando, Florida. Thank you so much. We're going to see who else joins, give folks a couple minutes. It was nice seeing you last weekend. Let me know if you can hear me. If you're joining the live, thank you. Come on in, and I would like everyone to put in your home park. Put your home park in there and tell us where you are joining in from. Ah, Fernando, welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Same, Jamie. Same. Ah, the bluesiest. This is the guest book. Jackie, yes. Thank you for joining. This is the guest book, Fernando. So you can type your well wishes, your words of bereavement. Twin, twin. Hold on. Let me get ready because it's gonna be a celebration, okay? Even though I'm in black, this is a celebration. All right. Welcome, Sarah. Thank you for joining. Please welcome me to your home park with open arms when I am ready to accept the fact that that is now my home park. Ah, Zaya, thanks for joining in from Six Flags New England. I would love it if all the other Six Flags could have representation to say goodbye to a home park that I've had for 35 years. Okay, I'm gonna put some of y'all on the screen so we can have record. Thank you for joining. Thank you. Thank you. It's Fernando right there. Jamie pulling up. Home Park, Busch Gardens, Williamsburg. Even though you're in Northeast DC, you down the road from me. Thank you, Danon, for joining. Ah, my bubbles. PCO coaster is in the sanctuary. Thank you so much for joining. Oh, my fellow degenerate Zion is here. Sit with the family, Zion. Sit with the family because you understand the impact of losing this park. But we're not here to cry. We're here to celebrate a park that was for the community and by the community. This is not going to be a sad occasion. Of course, look at me. How could I cry when I look this nice? Let's see. Where's my twin? Where's my twin? My twin, Buttercup. Don't cry too long, girl, unless you're going to cry from laughing because, we're going to have ourselves a good time. I want y'all to, you know, get into it. This is camp, okay? This is camp. We're gonna play church today. Throw Sarah up here from Northern Virginia, from Nova. Thank you for joining, Peter. It will be desperately missed. It already is. So does this mean that my home park can be epic? Can I make epic? I'm a draft agent. I'm a free agent. I can pick wherever now. Zion is already doing his draft for his new home park. So maybe I need to do the same thing. He did go too soon. He was only 50. only 50 years old. Mm-hmm. Yay. Another Six Flags park in the mix. Did I put you up here, Will? Hi, Will. Thank you for coming to pay your respects. You can also sit with the family. I know the park meant a lot to you as well. All right. Let's see. I don't want to be before you long, as they say. But I just want to thank you all for joining this homegoing service for my home park, Six Flags America. I've been going there since it was Wild World. Turned into Adventure World. My mom still will slip up and say Wild World or Adventure World before she even says Six Flags. She was going there before me, having me. She's the one that got me into parks. So I just want to thank y'all for joining. So for me, this is like part of my closure. Of having a park close that I didn't expect to close so soon after becoming an enthusiast. If you didn't know, I'll give you some history because, people here may know of me, but those who are watching in the future, hello from the past. You may not know who I am. So let me give you an introduction of who I am. My name is Bree, and I got into coasters in 2022 after someone suggested that I take my son, who was like 4 at the time, I take him to Six Flags. And at the time, I hadn't been to a theme park, amusement park, or any type of park in like 10 years. Before then, the last time I went to King's Dominion was in 2010. It was right after they opened Intimidator, and I didn't ride it. I have a picture of it. I took a picture of it, and that picture was to be like, hell no, I'm not riding this. Y'all are crazy. Um, so that was in 2010, and I went to Frontier City once during my college time. So that's probably like in '07. I went to Frontier City. '07 or '08 in the spring, probably '07 in the fall, when I went to Oklahoma for college. I went to the University of Oklahoma. So I only went to Frontier City that one time my freshman year, and I never went again. And I did ride a wooden coaster there, but I don't have it in my coaster count because I can't remember what it was, and I plan on going back. But Six Flags America is what got me into this, all of this, YouTube and Instagram and being a content creator, because I saw other content creators out there, but they didn't look like me. And that's important to tonight as we talk about Six Flags America, because that is a park that was home. And not only just because it was close to me, but the park was like a representation of me as a Black person. Growing up in DC, growing up in this area where DC was known as Chocolate City. It's not quite that as much anymore, but that was Six Flags America. So my idea of parks started with Blackness, which is why I'm even doing it as a funeral, because I believe that Six Flags America deserves this type of, I don't know, fun, the fun that we're having. Um, so yeah, it's a little bit about me. And my first vlog was at Six Flags America. You can go and see that on my page. And I've had quite a few vlogs from Six Flags America since then. And I'm really sad that I won't have any more to put out besides the last day, which will come when I'm ready emotionally and mentally to put that together. But that's enough of me talking. Um, let's go on with the program. I do have a program for us. It's not unorganized, even though it might come across that way sometimes. But I thank y'all again for joining. So you all came in as the processional. You know, you came in and you told us where your home park is. And if you haven't yet and you're just now joining, come on in and tell us where you're from. You know, let the chat know where you're coming from and what your home park is, so your home park can, you know, pay its respects as well. And I will consider what I just said the opening remarks of this occasion. But I do want, and let me preface this, a little disclaimer. This is not going to be like a religious thing. But I am about to read a scripture. And if you are not Christian, if you don't follow the Bible, this is not to be offensive to you. It is it's a very general scripture that I would like to read because I think it is pertinent to the occasion. Okay. Let me just see some of these comments before I get into it. Thank you for being with the family, Dave. We appreciate it. Thank you for joining, Parker. For those who may not know or haven't seen it on the vlogs, I met Parker at Six Flags America randomly being there this summer. So thank you for joining. My bubbles. I will take my time. Thank you. Because you always got people. Take your time, sweetie. Take your time. Thank you. Thank you, Bubbles, for also the super chat, which I didn't realize was a feature. So if you would like to donate to the family, aka me, you can do that. I ain't gonna stop you. Thank you, girl. We have the West Coast in Almighty Coasters Island. Thank you for joining. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Mo. Let me put you up on the screen, girl. These gloves making it hard, child. Oh, thank you for choosing Epic as your new home park. I love that. We hung out at IOA and USF. So can't wait to hang out with you at Epic one of these days, hopefully next year. All right. So the scripture that I'm going to read, short and sweet, 2 Timothy, the 4th chapter, and the 7th verse. And it reads, I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. And that's it. And that's it. Because Six Flags America was a park that fought a good fight. When you had people going against it, talking about it, Six Flags America kept on. The attendees, the community, everybody, we kept going. Well, not me, because I ain't go for a while. But everybody else kept going. That's in this community. Because it was someone who lives in the area that was like, girl, take your son to Six Flags. And I'm like, you're right. You know, that was somebody who went, had a season pass for all 5 of her kids. And that is what that park is for, the community. And unfortunately, before its time, in my opinion, it has finished its race. But once we get into the remarks and we talk about the last day, until the last moment, and I'm gonna try not to cry. I ain't gonna say I'm not gonna cry, but until the last moment, the employees were happy, the staff was just the energy and the vibes were so good. And that goes with finishing a race, because what do they tell you when you are racing? They tell you to finish the race strong. You know, just because you see the finish line doesn't mean you slow down. You could be tired, you could be weary, but that's not the time to slow down just because you see the end. You want to finish strong. And that is exactly what Six Flags America did on that last day. It finished strong. So I would like to commend the staff, the leadership, the ride ops, the people who changed the trash, the folks who cleaned the bathrooms, everybody, because every single person who worked there is a part of the ecosystem that makes Six Flags America what it was. And I am appreciative of every single person. I'm appreciative of every single person who worked there and made sure that we, the guests, had the best experience that we could. I would like to shout out Ramar, who I have become friends with since becoming an enthusiast. And I want to thank him for his leadership of the park over the past few years and just accepting me as, a guest and a content creator and just somebody of the community that also loved the park. So, get these out the way, get these tears out the way. But I just want y'all to always remember that yes, we love these parks, even if you might say, "Oh, the ops are trash," or "the food could be better." There's still a person in a uniform that is there that is making it happen every day. And if you go to your job and do the best every day, I commend you. But there's sometimes people may not do the best that day. So let's give people grace when we go to these parks. Okay? Because I've seen and I've heard some things about how people feel about Six Flags America, and I don't think it's fair. You can't base an opinion off of one visit. But as someone who's been there for 35 years, I feel like I know the park and I know the people that make the park what it is. Six Flags America was a place where in high school, I remember everyone saying, "Oh, Six Flags is hiring y'all." You take the train and then take the bus, and then you go to Six Flags and you apply for your job, and then you get the job. Great. It was too far for me, but I did want to work at Six Flags at one point. But I knew people who worked there. So I know the people that made up Six Flags America, and I think they got a unfair rap sometimes. So I want y'all to remember that, because those are the same people that on that last day made sure that all these people who had not, to be honest, was not checking for Six Flags America before they said it was closing, but they made sure that everybody had a great experience. And that is what I want people to remember, because that is the Six Flags America that I have always seen. I've always known. And that is the Six Flags America that I wanted everyone to experience. And now they won't get the chance. But I'm glad that they closed out in the way that they did. And they got to do it with so much grace. So much grace and dignity and pride in their work. So thank you to all of the staff and the leadership of Six Flags America for doing all that you did. And I wish all of y'all the best as you move forward in your careers. All right. Oh, child, I didn't think I was gonna get emotional with that. But that came out. Maybe I need to go to church more. If that happens when I read one scripture, maybe I need to go back to church. Don't mind me, I'm a heathen. Okay. Let me see what y'all been talking about. Mm-hmm. The employees were great, and Dewena saw some of the shows. They were still giving it their all. I heard it to the very last show. They was treating it like America's Next Top superstar or whatever. Like I heard that they went out with a bang with their shows. Um, let's see. Parker. I think people look down on parks where staff don't give Disney Dollywood service, but those jobs are tough. And remember how much they get paid. Okay, in these tariff times. This is why we need to be giving grace to everybody, no matter what, especially service workers. In these tariff times, everybody is trying to make it. And though we're going to a place and we expect a certain level of service, there are still people that are working to make that happen. So yes, those jobs are tough. It takes so much for these people to show up every day, and we all need to appreciate that more. I agree. I agree. Will says, I always believed that Six Flags America was 2 counties over. It would still be open and would have gotten more investment. I do agree that the demographic, because it doesn't make sense to close a park in between two major cities like Baltimore and Maryland, Baltimore and DC, for a park like this to fail, because everything says a park in this area should win. So if a park in this area is not winning, we need to look at the people who are making the decisions for the park. And that's not the park local people. They can only go by what they are approved to do. So let's keep that in mind and understand how corporations work as well. So yes. Okay. Thank you, my fellow degenerate Zion. Heathen brew. That should be my name. I am a heathen. If y'all only knew, he's still working on me. He ain't through with me yet. All right, all right. So next we have, let me see. We got a hymn. We got to see, y'all didn't know we had a special guest that's going to give us a little snippet of a song that'll hopefully, touch your heart as it touches mine. And I also hope that the internet works and y'all can hear it. So we just gonna go with the flow, all right? Because this might be a Six Flags stream, if you feel me. But I'm gonna see how I can share this hymn with you all from a special guest. All right. My good sis, Cynthia Erivo. Let me see if y'all see her. Let me know if y'all see Cynthia down in the comments. Can y'all see that? You can't see it. Can y'all see it? Oh, shoot. Let me go. Do I need to turn into the live, see what it look like from my phone? Let's see what y'all see. Oh, maybe I can't see it because I'm doing it. I'm gonna just play it and we're gonna see what happens. Y'all see? All right. I told y'all this gonna be a Six Flags stream. Huh. Told y'all. Okay. Told y'all it's gonna be a Six Flags stream. And we gonna roll with the flow. I'm glad y'all got to see the church. I hope y'all are sitting down with your hymnals. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Thumbs up if you can hear me. Okay. Parker can hear me. Who else? Freddie. Dave can't hear. Child. We rolling with it. Okay. Can y'all see me? And can y'all hear me? Okay. Good. Thank you. I'm not resetting my Wi-Fi. It's gonna be what it's gonna be, Fred. The one finger. Growing up in a Pentecostal church, you know what this means. Then I walk around without your finger up. Okay. I think I know what I did wrong, but I'm not gonna try it again. Because I ain't gonna make that mistake twice. But Google Cynthia Erivo and her singing Going Up to Yonder, and she's there with a choir. And it's a really good rendition. Oh, he's telling y'all to reset y'all Wi-Fi. Because I'm not the problem. What Cardi say? Am I the drama? No, I'm not. My Wi-Fi might beat up. I love Cynthia too, Dave. I love her too. So I'm gonna try that later. But go see her on YouTube singing Going Up Yonder. Because Cynthia sings down. She sings down. And so next I'm gonna go into a poem before we go into the remarks. And I'm gonna have some good friends join us for the remarks. But I just want to read a short poem now that everything's loud and clear. The poem is called Afterglow, and it's by Anonymous. So if you wrote Afterglow, thank you, whoever you may be. Very short and sweet poem, okay? Y'all ready? Let's go. Afterglow. I'd like the memory of me to be a happy one. I'd like to leave an afterglow of smiles when life is done. I'd like to leave an echo whispering softly down the ways of happy times and laughing times and bright and sunny days. I'd like the tears of those who grieve to dry before the sun of happy memories that I leave when life is done. So that is Afterglow by Anonymous. I thought it was very fitting for the park, for something that's meant to spark joy in our lives, that when it's gone, it's still a part of us. And hopefully some of that joy shines through every day, through each and every one of us who have gone to the park, and will take the park with us as we continue on. So, all right. We are going to have some remarks. I'm going to have Airtime Mike and Burnt Up Stops come to the stage.
What is up?
Well, hello, Bree.
Welcome. How are y'all doing?
Very well.
Listen,
Little,
I got your box for you right here,
Thank
just in
you.
case. I got you
Thank
all set,
you.
ready to
yeah,
go.
this,
I got a napkin. I don't even have real tissue. I just grabbed what was near me. But thank y'all for joining. I know that y'all have been frequent attendees of Six Flags America for a long time. There's someone else who could not be here today, that wanted to share some words. So before we go into y'all's remarks, Yolanda, who is an ACE member, like she is pro ACE. That's my ACE girl. She wanted to give some words because Six Flags America was also one of her parks that she had growing up. And I you know, wanted her to have some space to share her thoughts on the park. So here are remarks from Yolanda, and then we can discuss with y'all. Okay, these are her thoughts on as of Monday. You know, the aftermath, like that right after the park closes and you go to sleep and you wake up the next day. These are her thoughts. She said, "Yesterday was very bittersweet. The final day of Six Flags America, aka Wild World, aka Adventure World. She accomplished the goal of getting her nephew on Wild One, Raging Cajun, and even Professor Screamore's Skywinder, which is formerly known as the Mind Eraser. She was able to show him the attractions that her sister and herself enjoyed as a kid when they were his age. His favorite was Wild One because he said it was a longer coaster ride, which I'm like, yes, we love long rides. She's hoping for the best for the park, unsure what will happen um, to SFA. One thing to note from her observation of yesterday was that it felt like the attendees, aka GP, were shocked about what the park offered, and they were sad that they didn't get to enjoy the park as much as us locals did for the past in the past couple years. The operation of the park was top notch for a park that didn't have the total visitors like yesterday anytime in the past few years. They were prepared and on top of everything and were courteous and professional towards all guests. She says, never judge a book by its portrayed cover. And then here are some thoughts about the park in general from Yolanda. My thoughts today and remembering the past years. The park was never invested in by the company. It's just bad management by the corporation. The park prior to the years of Six Flags was managed well. For those that don't understand, think of it as the Kennywood of the DC area. It had local charm and was well loved for years. One core memory she had during the Wild World years was the show featuring the PBS TV characters Zoobilee Zoo. She said she was so excited to see it since she watched it a lot. She noted that the water park stayed open until park closed 10 p.m. in the summer, and it was amazing. Swimming in the starry night sky, no feeling like it. School and camp trips to the park, family celebrations, aka birthdays for her and her sister who were born in August, the best. No one went to plan to get on the rides and visit the water park. The rule, yes, this is so true. The rule was to always go to the water park first. And when the crowd showed up in the water park, we would leave and do the rides because the lines were shorter when every patron headed to the water park when it got hotter. And the Halloween events were a lot for her. She loved the rides with the scare actors and haunted houses. The mazes, were scary. It was a great park, and she loved it. Um, in her words, I think a lot of parks and people who love theme parks are nervous for the future. If this could happen to a park with a lot of potential, it could happen to any park. So those are Yolanda's thoughts on Six Flags America, and I invite Mike now to speak on your thoughts.
First of all, thank you, Bree, for having me on. I really appreciate coming here and be able to speak about what was my home park, Six Flags Park, um, growing up, and also even to this day. First, I want to say her comments were great. I'm sorry, like I laughed when I heard the Zoobilee Zoo comment because I remember that as a little kid, and like it was my sister's like favorite thing to watch. So that's why I started laughing because the show they performed on at the park was really good. I hated the TV show. So, so, but I love watching them performing in the park when it's going through. So that was really cool. But some thoughts for me. So, like you, I grew up um, like you. I've been going to the park for 3 decades. Like over 3 decades for the park itself here. Probably should have visited a little bit more, knowing the outcome of the circumstances. But I first I'm old enough to know that when they built Mind Eraser, they had Cal Ripken doing commercial shoots for this.
Mm-hmm.
And so he used to come up there and do his little video shoot. He's a Baltimore Oriole baseball player, and he used to have it. He used to have his commercials. I remember when they built the ride. It was like Adventure World, and then like Wow, it was like Wild World, then Adventure World when it took over.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually got to go ride Mining Racer like as a young kid when it opened up. I also Superman the ride is actually my first hyper coaster that I rode. So even though I'd been going to Busch Gardens, I did not ride a polished chariot until after I had rode Superman. So I got a lot of good memories from the park there. When I was in high school, we had my senior trip was we had the option to flex, and so half our class went to Busch Gardens Williamsburg, the other half of the class went to Six Flags America, and so we like to call like the cool kids. So the cooler kids ended up going to Six Flags America, and that's back when they still had Two Face the Flip Side coaster. So we were like, so we were riding that and like marathon and that, and having a good time. That's back when it was Drop of Doom instead of Voodoo Drop. And we so I'm gonna don't do this anybody who's watching this stream, but like we used to go up there and like do the drop tower and like hold little objects and like watch the little thing spinning, like catching in our hand. Yeah, like
Yeah, don't do that.
yeah, don't do that. Yeah, don't do that. I was a teenager. It's senior trip, so don't do stuff like that. But you can do that, and then also I was there for opening day of Batwing. So if you're watching this, Batwing was the best version of the flying Vekoma Dutchman. It's the only one that didn't get relocated. And so because of that, it actually ran smoother, a little bit better, which it had better uptime. But it was one of my favorite, like it was my favorite Flying Dutchman riding it. And so I was a little disappointed we couldn't get a chance to ride it, but I'm very thankful that I had the opportunity to go there opening day when it had both sides operating with the switch track. And I waited like 2 hours for it in the full queue line. So those who are listening here, like the queue line was so long that it came all the way back, like halfway up to like Superman. And so if you ever like walk that long trail all the way to Batwing, like you have to go all the way back there. But the line started halfway, like as soon as you pass the Superman area, and that was the line for it. And so those really cool memories I have from from my early time, and then I went to school and college and went away, and then when I came back later in life, I got to do some other things and got to ride some of the relocated coasters. So even riding when they transported Great America. So the joke was that we always got Great America stuff. So like they say, hey, let's since it's not great, let's just send it to America, right? So, but I'm thankful because I don't know about y'all, but Raging Cajun's a good ride.
The best one of
we
its
were
kind to me.
my last ride on it was with El Toro Ryan a few weeks ago, riding on it. But like I'm telling you, we were spinning so hard and so fast. I hope they save that and relocate that to a park somewhere because I wouldn't mind like get a chance to like ride that again. So I'm looking forward to that. But Joker's Jinx being my first outdoor spaghetti bowl coaster after I'd already ridden, Flight of Fear. Also rode Flight of Fear opening day in '96 also, but like getting Joker's Jinx, which in my opinion, Joker's Jinx was probably the best outdoor version of the spaghetti bowl coaster. Between that and Poltergeist, you can kind of like take your pick on which one you like more. But I like the fact that it didn't have a mid course, and the second half just pushes so much faster on the ride. And I agree. The park was heavily interested in during the early like 2000s when Six Flags was out there Six Flagsing it when everybody was getting rides and coasters in the park. I think they did well, and then they just kind of forgot about it like over time, especially in a growing marketed area, which it should have got. But I will say this: every time I went to the park, didn't have to worry about long waits. Always had a good time. I never witnessed a single fight any visit in my entire life. So I know that was like a stereotype or whatever. Never saw it. So I don't know what that is. We shot one of our first like El Tour Ryan vlogs. I think he's here like in the chat too. So me and Skeet Pete, we went down to Six Flags America on August 16th. Got the cup still, 2019. And we shot an El Toro Ryan vlog there at Six Flags America on National Coaster Day. And you had to go ride every single ride in the park to get this cup. And we got the cups. He's got a clear one with the I got the one with the straight straw and the red cup. He's got a clear one with a squiggly straw on his that we both like still have to this day. So I wanted to break that out and show that, man. Got the hat on today, got the Six Flags America shirt on today, representing, and had a good time there. I was very I coined the phrase as people probably already know when they relocated Firebird over to Six Flags America, and I actually went there for a media day with Ace and rode it 47 times during media day, and I coined the phrase "the smoothest B&M in Maryland,"
Yes.
which it was. So. You know, it was the smoothest BM in Florida. And I got the
No
ride
lies were told.
no lies were told, right? I got the ride as Apocalypse. I got the ride it as Firebird, and it was interesting that the ride is actually smoother in the back than it is in the front. For those who have ridden it, so good times at the park. You know, so as far as like going through, I never had a poor visit there. As far as like rides going down, that kind of stuff is typical at any park. But when I tell you that I just walk in, go ride a thing, leave, and get out. That's what it was. You know, like I like the direction the park was going in as far as they were getting the flats package recently here, getting Wonder Woman and getting Harley Quinn. Like, you can tell that they had, the Steam Town. And so like they were on their way as far as to like, take advantage of what's going on in the area to kind of grow. And then a merger happens. But I tell you what, that new entrance looked amazing. You know, like one of the best ones to walk into. And if your home park is Six Flags New England, Zaya, like it had, it kind of had like the similar entrance when you walked in there. And I will echo exactly what you said. The last day, I want to touch on real quick. It could have been a disaster, meaning people could have mailed it in. They could have said, you know what, it's the last day. I don't even care. You know what? Like we're closing. I'm mad. I'm disgruntled. I don't feel like participating. I don't want to be a part of that. But you know what we didn't get? None of that. It was great staff. The people were nice. The crowd there, the mix between the coaster community along with the general audience, everyone had a good time. The employees were upbeat, energetic, happy, performing. All the rides were open that were available. Every single one of them were open. So if they made it so if it's your first time visiting, you got a chance to ride every operating open coaster in the park that day. So I want to give the staff so much for doing that, and even you for like Sean right there, who's going to talk in a second here. Speaking with the park manager who allowed him to bring his bagpipes in and play the music right there in front of the entrance. I mean, it was just a good experience, and it didn't really hit me until I actually left the park. Closing it and turn around and realize I'm never going to walk back in this park again. So the park that shot one of the first El Toro Ryan videos on, the park that I had my senior trip at, the park where I won my first hyper, my first Flying Dutchman, my second ever GCI, like it's just, there's, it caters to a group in that area I feel really bad about because they're going to lose a park and they're going to lose the football team who's moving back to DC in 3 years. Like if you don't know who's watching this, the Commanders Stadium is 3 miles away, 3 to 5 miles away from the park. I know I went to the game after the park closed on Sunday and went and watched my Commanders lose badly. Yeah, so it was a double sad day for me, going out there, but I always called that place a sleeping giant. 500 acres, only developed about 120 of it, roughly. And I never had like a really poor experience there for it. I love the clocks all being wrong, 3 clock towers, like all displaying the wrong clock time. And even on the last day, it had the wrong time, but it's okay because it was daylight savings time and they didn't have time to put that hour back. And then my man Pete, if he's watching, Six Flags America is responsible for that man finding his current wife because on National Coaster Day, he could have left, and he said, what should I do? Should I leave or not go on this date?" And he chose to go on that date after he visited the park. So he came here, had a good time in the park, which gave good vibes to him meeting his wife. And now they recently just got married about 2 months ago. So it's gonna have everlasting memories for me, for the park itself here. I love the area, man. I love the staff. I love the send off that the park gave everybody there. And if you didn't get a chance to visit the park, you missed out on a nice, charming park that just didn't get what it deserved. But the only substance I will give Six Flags is that they didn't king the cause, and this is why you give a date and you allow people to say goodbye the proper way because you can get the proper send off.
Yeah. Thank you, Mike. Thank you so
Amen.
much.
Well said.
All right, Sean, you're up.
Thank you. So I have a different experience with the park for the last 10 years or so. I only started going to this park in 2015, despite living only like an hour or less from it. And, it comes back to that, perceived reputation that you were talking about earlier, Bree. Unfortunately, my parents never took me to Six Flags America because it was perceived as dangerous. And, we know why. But I went for the first time in 2015. I went with my good friend Linda, and she had been there before, I believe. But we went for the first time, and up until that point, I'd only really been to like the immediate Mid-Atlantic parks, Busch Gardens, maybe Great Adventure, Hershey, King's Dominion, and that was really it. So unlike Mike, this was not my first hyper. I'd been on Paula's Chariot, I'd been on Nitro. So when I get on Superman for the first time, I'm experiencing ejector on a hyper coaster. And my friend Linda was wearing braids at the time. And on those ending hills, especially that third hill, her braids went straight up in the air and then slammed down onto her and onto me. And I was like, oh, geez, that was, there she is. What's up, Linda? And that was crazy. And then, we got on Batwing. That was maybe my first flying coaster. No, it wasn't my first flying coaster. I'd done Superman at Great Adventure, but like the Flying Dutchman, I was like, holy shit. And it was my first SLC. That was fun. That was awesome. Fun fact about that SLC, if you got baked in the parking lot before you rode it, it was actually a good time. So did that a couple times.
I'm sure that parking lot has seen a lot over the years.
With a couple people on this live stream. So, but no, for me, it was always nice because it was a park that I never needed more than 2 or 3 hours at a time, which, is nice, especially like if I'm in the area, like, oh, let me pop in here, use the meal plan, ride a few rides, and it was like Mike said, you never had a bad time there. My water bottle got stolen once off of Joker's Jinx platform. That was the one bad time, my membership bottle. So that was the one bad thing that ever happened to me there. It was always a good time. It was, there were never lines. And you could just go there, get your rides in, have a good time, and then be on your way. Mm-hmm. And it's a real shame because it really didn't get the investment that it deserved. I mean, it literally felt like an early 2000s time capsule in there. You're walking around and it's just like, you got these like bright neon colors on stuff everywhere. You got these, it's faded after 20 some years, but it just felt like it stopped in 2004. It felt like I was still in high school just going there. And I never even went in high school, but it was definitely like a weird throwback. But can we just talk about Wild One for a second?
Please.
Please. Like, what an incredible coaster. And, it didn't look like, the thing is, it was like deceptive it didn't look like much. It really didn't. But oh my God, whether you were in the front or the back or the middle like Bree and I and Zaya and Brandon, our last rides was like kind of in the middle, and like that thing was just pumping out people, even on one train, and it felt alive, and it was giving rides like, no, I don't want to go yet, I'm not done. It felt alive, and it was a truly special ride. I mean, in the front row, it gave, I don't want to say like El Toro ejector, but it was riding the upstops on some of those wheels. It did the El Toro fart on a few of those hills. You were standing up, so that thing was nuts. Batwing, of course, we've talked about. Batwing's probably the most intense ride in that park. I could never ride it more than twice, and I was dizzy. Roar could be good sometimes in the front. Roar when they were taking care of it, it was okay. And yeah, Raging Cajun was absolutely nuts. I actually went on my birthday this year, and unfortunately, like half the coasters were closed, and Raging Cajun was the best ride open in that park. So like Wild One was down, Joker's Jinx was down, Superman was down, Batwing was down. But me and my friends, we got on Raging Cajun. We had one of the best rides I've ever had on it, and I still had a great time. So the park didn't deserve the fate it got, and unfortunately, the way the economy's going, and the way the rumblings have been over the past couple of days, I don't think it's going to be the last one. Hopefully, some of the others at least get sold to another operator. Fingers crossed, but Six Flags is in a lot of debt, and the math just doesn't look good. So if you are at your parks, go to your parks. Go to your parks if you get those attendance numbers up. If you want to save your park. So
I think you brought up a point that I hadn't considered before about it feeling like a time capsule, because a lot of it hasn't changed in a long time. And I think that's part of my nostalgia with the park, because walking from driving and parking, it takes me back to a place. And I think that's the connection that other people may not have with the park, is because not only am I going because it's a park, but this is literally taking me back in time to my childhood when I come here. So much is the same and similar that it's a little piece of my childhood that I get to relive, and that's, we don't get to really do that, especially in this hobby that is so full of childhood wonder. We go to these parks, we ride these kiddie rides, we look at the theming and all these things that are meant to take you out of reality and place you somewhere else. Six Flags America took me out of reality and took me back in time to my childhood. And now I can't do that anymore. I don't have a place that, because if DC and this area, and I said it like that on purpose, if you know this area, there's not a lot about this area that is the same from my childhood. Gentrification has wrecked my city, where like it's not the same place as I grew up, but Six Flags America was. And that's low key the last place that is the same from my childhood. And I no longer have that to go to by myself. And that's the last place that I could weave the threads of my childhood and my son's childhood together to say this was a generational place. I grew up here from my mom, and then I am now taking my son here, and hopefully I wanted that to continue. But that's a great point about it feeling like a time capsule. And that's not always a bad thing. Yes, we want things to evolve and innovate and things like that. But sometimes when you innovate out of the character of the place that got people to like it and love it in the first place. And Six Flags America still had that thing about it. I walk in and I'm thinking about the field trips from camp, from school that I went on. I'm thinking about We going into the water park like Yolanda stated, and we're getting our seats early because we already know the rush is going to come in once it hits high noon and it gets real hot. We already got our spots. I'm thinking about my mom taking me and my little high school boyfriend on a date to Six Flags.
Hey.
Shout out to Calvin.
I think we've all taken dates to Six Flags America. You know, I think we all have.
Shout out to Calvin. We little copping little feel in the line. My mom is standing waiting on us. But that is part of childhood. You have in the country, like you go to the fair, which you take a little date to the fair. Six Flags America was that for us, and you can't. Especially as a mom, I'm not allowing my son to say no date down to Kings Dominion, 80 miles away. But could I have taken him and a little friend to Six Flags America? I could have. But now I can't. I think about my mom's job, shutting down the park, buying out the park, and the job having the whole park. We eat in the pavilion in the back. That if you take the train, you drive through that. That is what this park is to me, and will always be a big part of my childhood. And I'm glad it's a part of is where I got my enthusiast start too. It only feels natural that's where my enthusiast start came from. For those who may not have heard on like other platforms, I went to the park 2022, like I said before, August 7th, my enthusiast birthday, because I rode Wild One. It's first coaster I rode in over a decade. And just to get the feel of being on the coaster, I had to go straight to the wood. To get that feeling back. Hell. But I just had to remember what it felt like to be on a coaster. Because if you haven't ridden a coaster in a decade, you forget what that's like. So I went to the basics, got on Wild One, and then I was like, I gotta go to Superman. It looks so tall. But I rode it, and as we crested over the lift and going down the first drop, it literally felt like, I say this all the time because it's true, like it felt like waking up from a dream. Like, oh, girl, you've been missing this, and you didn't even know that you were missing this. And by the time I got off of that ride,
you were back.
I knew my life would never be the same because I was never letting that feeling go again. And at that time, I had about 30 credits in my life just from the various parks that I've been to. Got the Dueling Dragons credits. Shout out to my mom and my family taking me down there. And, I got the pavilion in South Carolina in Myrtle Beach. I got the credits there, so I've always been a coaster fan. Them 30 credits, they just come out of nowhere. I always went straight for the coasters, but that is when I realized, like, oh, no. This is different now. This is a lifestyle now for me. And I'm grateful for that moment that Superman and Six Flags America provided me. To bring me to this point where we are on a live today. This live would not be happening if it wasn't for Six Flags America. I wouldn't be doing this. Oh, Demetrius is here.
I wanted to add to something you said. You were saying that it was kind of, the time capsule thing, but it was starting to, if not evolve, it was like, shout out to Ramar. He was starting to bring like some real quality of life improvements. Like there was a new, deck, to Heritage House that was only a couple years old. We started getting 2 trains on all the rides. Even got new trains on. We got Steamtown that it was a reskin retheme, but like they put some serious effort into it. We got the new SLC trains, the new Superman trains. Things for a while were running 2 trains, which never happened at that park. So it's like the park was moving in the right direction.
Yes, it was.
It really was. Ramar was doing a fantastic job.
Yes.
And for this to just happen like this, it's just like, I mean, there were there were parks, at least this year, so other Six Flags parks that were in worse condition than Six Flags America this year.
I never thought it was the worst Six Flags park.
No, it wasn't. It really wasn't.
Like personally for me.
Like I went to St. Louis earlier this year, and there were like flat rides, not just closed, but like missing the ride vehicles, you know, in a park that's supposed to be open. And the Woodies in St. Louis, I mean, I've been down in years when they were in pretty good shape. They are not in good shape. They were not in good shape this year. You know,
one thing that you also said about like your water bottle getting stolen, I feel like a lot of times when I heard complaints about the park, it was about things that happen at every park.
Yeah.
And for some reason, it just weighed more on Six Flags America when it happened here, as opposed to when it happened in other places. It's like, oh God, I felt like Six Flags America had to be perfect for people to even say it was okay. And it's like, dang, like that's why I said earlier about giving grace to these employees, to the parks. When you see that they're trying, like, give grace, because your one little tweet can blow up. And nowadays in this time of social media, and it can really paint a negative light on something that back in the day would be very insulated and small, but it seems like things get blown out of proportion now, and they have effects because there's so many people that I saw, you know, in the Facebook groups and stuff saying that they didn't come because of the reputation, but then they came this year because it was closing, and now they wish they would have come earlier and that they could come again. And that is what the power of, as they say, the power of the tongue, as now it's the power of the thumbs. That is the reputation that places can have, and it can really affect their bottom line along the way. So I just want everyone to be mindful of the impact of your words. And if you are going to be critical, be honest, but be fair.
I mean, it comes to that, you know, you yourself said it was a black park, you know, even the very end, they were playing, you know, 90s, early 2000s R&B at the very end. But, you know, it's what comes with that is like the old saying, you know, you got to be twice as good to get half as much. So.
Yep. And people may not believe that, but the proof is in the pudding.
And that's probably why it didn't get the investment, you know, it didn't get the investment. And then, you know, that it did have a bit of a reputation as well, as, you know, the community was using it as like kind of a daycare for their teenagers, you know, buy them a meal plan, buy them a season pass, and drop them off every day.
That's every Six Flags park though.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So or any kind of major park that has like, you know, like this kind of thing. So I can't even like, you know, go on that level. But I'll say this is like the park itself wasn't as bad as some people may have made it seem. But like I said, you can still go there and have a good time. And every single one of us just spoke about like how good experiences has. Everybody here who's watching this live stream, who went to the last day, or who attempted to go visit the park sometime in the last week or month or whatever, making their first ever visit, at some point walked around, was like, you know what? They're like you talked about perception and your reputation, and they were probably like, that's not what I thought it was. You know, like that, like that was some of the things that I kept hearing when I kept seeing, like watching like different vlogs or YouTubes, like being covered over the last like couple months. They're like, you know, this park is not what I thought it was. It's like, yeah, because, you know, like a long time ago or whatever, you know, someone said something or something mentioned something, and that's how things happen. And it just kind of like, it's like a snowball effect, right? Roll down the hill, and then people who never visited the park start chiming in, but like you can't make that point when you haven't been there. So, but no, all parks do, all major parks have a plan where you can drop them off. I mean, I can name Great Adventure, like Adventure Park, you just say, like Candace Wonderland, like all those parks do that. So we can't.
It's a reason why there is a national chaperone policy now, because if it was just a park like Six Flags America or some, you know, that it wouldn't be a national thing to have a chaperone policy. It is what it is, because that is just the nature of parks, especially when you have a lower price point for your season passes. Your mom want to go to the mall without you, drop you off at Six Flags. I'm gonna go over down to the Target down the street and I'm gonna shop. Then I'm gonna pick you up later. That's just what it is. And also because it was so accessible, which is a pro if you want people to come to your park, it was so accessible. Teens or people who don't drive, before Uber, you could still get there. The train the
ticket
bus,
right there.
There's a bus stop right at the entrance when you turn off of Central Ave. That is how so many people were able to even come there and have that be their first job. It was accessible when your parents didn't have to take time to take you somewhere, and then now you are making money. You are learning skills, and your parents can still do what they need to do. That is to not think about that as a privilege, because if you have a parent that can always drive you to your job, pick you up from your job, everyone doesn't have that. But Six Flags America had teens that are working there where their parents didn't have to take time off of their life to make sure that they were able to go either have a good time or go to work. And for me, it's always about the community. I'm thinking about, I went this summer, I'm taking my son to practice at church for stuff, and there's a girl there practicing for a praise dance, but she has her Six Flags polo on. She works at Six, like that. That's what this park means to me. Like, it is intertwined with so many facets of my life. And if that's just me, imagine how many other thousands of people who feel the same way.
Yeah, and how many parks in this country are transit accessible? Like they're fumbling this. They fumbled it for 20 years. They just
I think they really missed the marketing opportunity, and when like we all grew up, Sean, Bree, and myself, we all grew up in the area, so like I said, I grew up like 35 miles away, in North Virginia. Bree, you're in DC, Sean, you're in Maryland. All three of us are literally like within the same distance time, just in different directions, like as far as to get there. And we can speak in the fact that this place in this area, this DMV area, has exploded with like people like over the last like 25 years, as evident by the traffic and the opportunity growth and the housing market. I mean, it has exploded with so many people, which is why I'm trying to move in farther south, like getting more far south in Virginia to kind of get away from it. But this parks can be missed, what I mean? So like I'm gonna miss this park, and if you're watching this and it's this is I said it behind scenes, so I'll say it here publicly here, but like this was the first time when I got in that parking lot and I turned it around, and then it was the first time I had said to myself, this is the first time I admitted, I should say, or felt that the merger was not a good option. I've been pro merger since like day one, and I've always tried to see the optimism of it. And like it was the first time I looked around, I was like, you know what, we just lost the park. And so if you're a hardcore coaster enthusiast, if you're someone who's in the parks like we are, when you lose a park, whether you liked it or not, or whether you agree with that, we lost a park. We lost a place where we can go visit. We lost coaster credits. All of us who have been to Six Flags America, we all have 13 or 12 defunct credits now. So like we all have that now. And if you're someone who's watching this now and one of your home parks is one of those smaller Six Flags parks, as evidenced by that third quarter conference call a few days ago, if you're one of the smaller parks, I'm telling you right now, go visit your park, go have a good time, because this could be you this time next year. Yeah. And you just got to take time to enjoy what we have, because like sometimes, man, like the best things are just missed. The best things aren't appreciated until they're gone. And that's kind of how I'm feeling today. Like, you know what, like probably should have went to the park more. It's like first flying coaster, first hyper, as you mentioned, the first SLC, and like the wooden
early GCI, Wild One, which is still one of the better coasters in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. Still, it was better. It was better in 108 years than than Invader was on its first day. So and even though it's closed right now and it's not operating anymore, it's still better than Invader. And I'm still feeling that trade right now, that lift hill. Invader is never going to not catch a stray.
So I'm upset that I'm losing a classic Woody because I love wooden roller coasters. So
that one in particular,
and that's a great wooden roller coaster. It's gonna be missed till we hear it got transported and survive. I think it's gonna go down. Not anymore. I think it's one of the oldest coasters in the United States, one of those coasters in the world, wooden coasters.
Mm-hmm.
So, that park's losing history. We're losing history for a park in its area. And I'm going to miss those trips, man, when I'm going, like you mentioned, Sean, like I'm going to miss those trips, man, when I'm making a road trip. I'm going, when I'm going to Great Adventure, I'm making a trip up north and I'm going to like Dorney and I'm going to whatever. And like, I got to make that quick stop to get the meal plan real quick while I'm driving by,
right,
like, let me go in here.
Let
me go in here real quick. Let me go in here, walk to the entrance because they had this chicken shack that was right there by the fountains when you walked in and the hot dog. Right. So I just go in there and get my little chicken sandwich, or I want to take a little walk by the towers, the little clock there, and go to Johnny Rockets and got me a little, and then get that and just head back to the parking lot and keep on my drive. I can't tell you how many times I've stopped by Six Flags America to eat real quick on my way to going up north somewhere, could have been anywhere, man. So, I'm gonna miss that. I'm gonna miss that vibe of just kind of driving around and I just feel bad for that whole area, man. Like I said, losing the park, you're losing a football team. Yeah. And so like all the vendors, the small businesses, the hotel chains, they all lose. So like if we lose parks as enthusiasts, that area loses it as nostalgia and businesses and financial gain for them.
Youth
employment, which is going to be something else.
Youth employment
and
too.
So I'm just really going to miss that place. And if you, like I said, if you got a small home park that's nearby. I'm not gonna name them, but we're well enough in this community now to know which those small parks are that are in that Six Flags chain. Go visit your park. That's what I'm doing next year. I have dedicated 2026 to going to visit as many of the Six Flags Entertainment properties as I can, especially the smaller parks, because I feel like those are the ones that are going to be in jeopardy. So I don't want to miss out on, like not visiting the park. I'm thankful enough that I've been to pretty much every single Six Flags parks, but I'm gonna go visit them all again. Like just to be like, you know what? I don't know what decision this company's gonna make next year. And I'm saying and they don't make announcements. We are lucky that we got to say goodbye to Six Flags America. And some people who are out there in the CGA are lucky to say goodbye to CGA when that comes out. That's another one that we already know about.
Yeah.
And so now I'm like, you know what? Small parks, something out there, just like the ones I just don't think are going to be around. Let me go ride because I may not be able to get an opportunity to do it again. I'm going to miss that straight track on Superman, which I didn't know was straight track until I went to Darien Lake, and it served the purpose. But I understand that I like straight track, and that's an awesome moment there. So I'm going to drink out of my cup here, my Six Flags America.
I don't know if we all have a cup, but
National
I think we should end
Day.
it off with a little cheers to Six Flags America. Thank you all.
But throw something in there.
Something in there.
I just also want to point out it's been exactly a year. Well, it'll be exactly a year tomorrow since King Daka's last day.
Shout out to Ka. Long live the king.
Shout out to Ka.
Well, I would like to thank both of you for joining.
My cup too, and my Six Flags America cup, man.
I don't have my Ka cup near me.
Just gonna say cheers to both of them, man.
Yes.
We're losing them.
Merger fatalities.
We're losing them.
Zim jobs.
So, thank you, Sean and Mike, for your remarks and paying respects to Six Flags America. I'll see y'all at Kings Dominion.
Yes, you will.
Yeah, you will.
Yes, you will. Yes, you will.
So we are going to move on with the program. I'll talk to y'all later. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. All right. Wasn't that great to hear from other people and get their perspective on the park and get their memories and their thoughts about the closing and the last day, which was a great time. But we're going to move over because the hour is far spent. Amen. We're going to move over to the obituary. We're going to skip the next musical tribute because I don't have time for my internet to play with me. So we're going to skip over to the obituary, and then we'll have the eulogy by a special guest. Y'all don't want to go nowhere. All 37 of y'all that are watching, thank you. But don't go anywhere because we have a very special eulogist to speak about Six Flags America. And disclaimer, this obituary, yes, I put it together, but it's from Wikipedia. So fact check it on your own. You know, we are in the times of fake news, and I don't want to be spreading fake news, but I also didn't have time to research everything that I'm about to say. So bear with me, and hopefully some of this is mostly true. All right. Six Flags America, not to be confused with Six Flags Great America, was founded by Ross Perot, maybe randomly, kind of, possibly, as the Wildlife Center in 1974. So if you have your Six Flags America merch and it has 1973 on there, that's hilarious because it's really 74. Maybe not. It was called the Largo Wildlife Preserve and was operated by ABC. Yes, the people that brought to you Shondaland, Scandal, How to Get Away with Murder. ABC, those folks operated the Largo Wildlife Preserve, which is very random. Ross Perot, ABC, just a bunch of random stuff going on with the beginning of this park. But it closed for a little bit. So after its closure in 1978, the property was bought by Jim Fowler's Wild Kingdom, where it was gradually transformed into a theme park called Wild Country. Wild Country then turned into Wild World. In 1992, the park was renamed Adventure World after Premier Parks acquired the park. Premier Parks later did some more acquiring and took over Six Flags Incorporated. Six Flags America became the 10th Six Flags park and was themed to Colonial Maryland. That is why the entrance looks the way it does, Colonial Maryland. The America in its name was due to the park's proximity to the U.S. Capitol, my hometown, Washington, D.C. Six Flags America operated under Six Flags Inc. until its last day on November 2nd, 2025. Six Flags America, lovingly referred to as the thrill capital of DC, leaves behind a beloved water park, the 108-year-old Woody, the Wild One, the first B&M Firebird, formerly Iron Wolf and Apocalypse, one of the first GCI wooden coasters in Roar, an impressive Intamin drop tower called Voodoo Drop, formerly Drop of Doom, and a host of other special rides, restaurants, and shows. SFA will be remembered by generations of locals, coaster enthusiasts, leadership, and team members. Amen. This is where we would have had the next musical selection, but I think the song I chose would have been overplayed anyway. Y'all have heard End of the Road so many times since this park has closed. I am not going to bore you with it again, but play End of the Road and think of Six Flags America, and that would have been this section of the show. All right. So now we are moving forward to the eulogy, which I'm going to give this person an introduction before I bring him up because this is my friend, y'all. This is my friend. Okay. Deontay Henderson is currently one of the GOATs. Okay, he is one of the GOATs. If you don't know him, then I don't know how you don't know. He was the lead engineer on some of y'all's favorite and my favorite coaster, Velocicoaster. He is a maverick over there at Universal Creative. And our friendship runs deep. But one of the things that connects us is the fact that we do have Six Flags America in common. in the history there. And I'm glad that he is someone who I can talk to. I called him on the way home from leaving the park. Oh my God. And he let me just cry and get my feelings out and cry. And I'm happy that he agreed to do this. So without further ado, I bring to the stage my friend, Deontay Henderson. Hey, friend. Hold on now. We got to hear you,
Hey, can you
friend.
hear me?
Oh, yes. There you go. Oh,
You see my
yes.
background? I did that.
Yes. Thank you. I miss her. I got to get back down to her.
Yes, absolutely. Um, Thank you for those beautiful words. And anytime you want to call me, you can call me up. It's always love. Um, for everyone who is on here, thank you for allowing me to speak to you all. A little bit about me. I did, as Brichet mentioned, I worked at Six Flags America, and I also grew up going to the park as it was Wild World, as it was Adventure World, as it was Six Flags America. Um, Specifically, since I know we are all enthusiasts and we all enjoy theme parks to some degree, one thing that I would say I did want to harp on is that I did work at this park. This park was a place that I called my place of employment, but also my home, and is also where I found my theme park family. And so those years are never forgotten. I worked at Six Flags America in 2010 and into the 2011 season. I worked there also again in 2014 for the 2014 season, and then to the beginning of the 2015 season. And these were summers that continue to shape and to mold me. And as I said, for those of you on here, Six Flags America, it will forever be my home park. It is a special place. I don't know if I will call another park my home park, because I don't think that is really possible for me to do so. And so I would say, and I mean this completely and truly transparently, um, I would not be where I am today if it wasn't for Six Flags America. And I put my shirt on from back in my days at the park just to be in the spirit. I unfortunately, like some of you, was not able to make the journey home to say my goodbyes. And I'll be honest with you, and it's fitting that we're in a church, because I do not do funerals well. I would have been a mess on that day. But I know my colleagues, many of my former leaders, and many of my Six Flags family were there in good spirit, and they took it home the way that I knew they would, because that's what we have always done against any odd. That the employees and the people who work there are something special, and some of the hardest and most passionate individuals you will ever find, and they deserve all the applause. And I am so happy to hear so many positive voices talking about the spirit that was Six Flags America. And it's the thing that I think you and I were talking the other day, Bree, is it will be hard to find that ever in another park.
Yeah.
So again, I say that just to say, I would not be where I am. As you mentioned, yes, I have gone from working, as we used to call it, the area 4, was Unit 236 back that time. I was in the back. You would have found me in Gotham City, running Joker's Jinx, Batwing, Superman Ride of Steel, Riddle Me This. I was over there with it was redubbed Whistle Stop Park, but y'all know it was Thomastown. But I had all of those attractions, and those are some of the most formidable moments, because prior to this, and a little backstory there is my start with Six Flags actually was at Six Flags Great America in 2008. So before even stepping foot into Six Flags America, joined the Six Flags family. I worked at Six Flags Great America in 2008. And then I ended up also working in Six Flags New England in 2010 before transitioning to Six Flags America. And it's kind of funny nowadays because I always said, people blame me. They said my old attractions followed me to Six Flags America, but you can't get enough of that joke there. But what I will say is I made a post, and I won't take the time to repeat it here, but I would not be where I am, right? And like I said, to go from those walking the pavement at Six Flags and all the way from the backs of the park in Batwing to now one day calling myself the lead engineer for a top 3 roller coaster in the entire world is nothing that I take for granted, and it would not be possible if it weren't for the people at Six Flags America. That is my family through and through. And one of the things that I mentioned the other day is watching your post and seeing the pictures and seeing the videos. It hit home because it hurt me. And I knew that I would not be there and I would not be a good spirits there. But it's the place that believed in me before anywhere else really did. And I will say this, right? And then this is where it gets personal, because when I worked at Six Flags America, all 3 of those times, I also possessed a mechanical engineering degree, and I was working as an engineer. Yet I couldn't find a way to start. And those years, if you think about those years, we were kind of in the trails of the recession that had hit us. And the place that took me in was Six Flags America. And while I was not working in an engineering capacity, the folks at that park, my leaders, my team, they knew, because they heard me talking about my dreams and what I wanted to do. They pushed me, and they knew that my place, my time was not supposed to be there forever, that I had bigger and better things to do, and encouraged me to step out on faith and make the long journey and take that opportunity. Because believe it or not, little insider, I didn't know if I was going to take the job, believe it or not. They're the ones you told me I'd be stupid not to, and I would regret it for the rest of my life. And they encouraged me to take the step and join Universal Creative, and I'm forever grateful for that. But it's not an easy industry, but everything I learned and the way that team closed the park, from what I could see, is the same spirit that I carry with me in every single one of the projects that I've done. So again, it would not be possible. For those who are here, we all kind of are here because we found this place to be one that we didn't just go here to ride roller coasters. We went here because it was a place that we called home, where we found family, where, as you said, Brashad, and I want to tap into that, where we found possibility. Six Flags America was also the first place where I had a Black leader, and not just a Black leader, several Black leaders. And I ask you all to think about another park in this country where you look at the people who are pushing the buttons, who are sweeping the pathways, who are toting the trash totes across the parkways, who are taking your cash when you go through the tolls, or scanning your season passes or annual passes. Who do they look like?
Mm-hmm.
They look like me. Mm-hmm. And a large number of those people oftentimes don't make it to the levels that you see when you go to your same loved theme parks. The leadership doesn't look like the vast majority of the people who are fulfilling those hourly jobs, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, the theme park industry, and this is not just unique to Six Flags America, but the theme park industry is a place where a lot of people find their first jobs. A lot of people get their first start and get their first exposure to interacting with the public and public speaking at that. You're on that hot mic when you're talking to your guests on the rides, and that's the first time many people get that. And it's not the easy feat. I have coached many a team member about the proper way to enunciate and to talk when you're on a mic. It's not about how their accent is. It's not because we do have a DC lingo. I never developed it because I'm actually from Northern Virginia. But Verche, she
I
got
got
it.
enough for you. I got it for you.
Yes, but the big piece here is, again, go back to what I just was leaning into is why is it that what represents the vast majority of team members doesn't translate to actual leadership positions, and that's not just unique to the theme park industry. It's all over the place. But at Six Flags America, that was where it was possible. In Prince George's County, that is where it was possible. And at Six Flags America, that's where it's a launching pad for people like me. You don't see that anywhere else. You don't see that anywhere else. And so when I say how much it hurts, it's because it's hard because I'm processing this live in a way. What if I were a young, and I'm sure there are people there, what if I was still this young, ambitious coaster engineer in the making that was working Superman on that last night? I no longer have that place where I can feel like I can make it to where someone is. And that's why I had to join this call, because I am hoping that if I'm reaching someone who is a former employee there, or if I'm reaching a enthusiast who found this place to be home, that they know what is possible, because I wouldn't have known what was possible if people really didn't pour into me the way that this park did. So I said this on there, and I'll just keep on that tone of this park right there in Prince George's County. It was Black excellence in motion. And I'm not discouraging or dismissing the wide variety and diversity that Six Flags America brought, because the nation's capital is a very diverse place. But there was something that was very unique about it. And I wanted to tap in on that, because I think, as we were kind of getting into in some of the commentary before, I also feel like it was, while it was, in my opinion, a gift, it was also the thing that unfortunately marred and fell a victim to a lot of the perpetuation that media and as years progressed and social media became a thing, as social media also perpetuated, whether people knew it or not, whether they meant it intentionally or not, it went to highlight the aspect that what you say and your words matter, and the impact that it can have on a community and the perspective and the perception of a community is important. All those things that people were saying, I've heard some comments of, it ran into some rough years in the beginning of the 2000s, and some people say it was rough before 2015. Some people say it was rough before 2020. Wherever your frame of reference is, at some point in the line, if you said something negative about this park, which, by the way, disclaimer, fun fact, it's not unique to Six Flags America. It happens at every amusement park, every theme park, every global theme park, mind you. But those words, you were talking about someone like me. And we categorize and miscategorize a grouping of people, and in this case, an entire park community. And that has effects too, because when those folks go to apply to jobs, I remember when I first started at Six Flags, at Universal, I remember introducing myself and telling people I came from Six Flags, and I actually had someone, and I don't mean this they know who they are, but I love them. We're good. It was meant in love. But I remember the statement was, well, at least you didn't come from Six Flags America. But let's just say I only got to say Great America and then New England. I didn't finish. And then I said, and Six Flags America. And then they went silent. And the point is that just goes to highlight the fact that no one expected someone from that park that looked like me to be sitting
there.
in the seat of something like I have in the background here. But this tells you what brilliant black minds are at that park and what those brilliant black minds can do. So I just wanted to make sure I tapped into that a bit. But it's not just about that, right? Again, Six Flags America belonged to everyone. And you went through the obituary a bit there, and I know for me as a coaster enthusiast myself, this park, it was such a good collection of rides. We had our classic wooden coaster, the Wild One, just shy of 100 feet tall, but it definitely was the heartbeat of the summer nights at the park. And I'm going to miss hearing the lift hill. You can almost hear that lift hill anywhere in the park, especially if you were walking from Gotham City towards the front of the park. I always used to say that the clickety clacks of the wooden coaster train, it actually had rhythm. Because Wild One, it had rhythm to me, because it was used to that R&B that you were talking about earlier. Then remember that we ended up getting Python. A lot of people don't mention that coaster. I actually never rode that one because I wasn't climbing them 7 flights of stairs to get on it. But shout out to Python. It did its point. It was a relocated attraction, but it did stand out at the park. I remember a lot of people standing there and watching it. We ended up getting Mind Eraser, and that was when I remember those Cal Ripken days. I too might be showing my age, but I remember those commercials. You remember the Mind Eraser? And I wanted to ask, and what maybe somebody in the chat can inform us is, was Mind Eraser at Six Flags America? Because this was Adventure World. This wasn't Six Flags. Was it the OG Mind Eraser, the name? Did other parks take on the name Mind Eraser? I'm asking that in the chat. Then let's not forget one of my favorite rides, Typhoon Sea Coaster.
R.I.P.
Do you think that's a credit, or would you say there's not?
I don't know, because I didn't know what a credit was back when I last rode it.
I think they just put coaster on the end of it, but I don't count it as a credit. But
I always thought it was a log flume. I never thought of it as anything else.
But the way they marketed it, I was really bought in as a kid that it was a coaster. But one of the best themed rides we had, and it is responsible for that monstrosity of a skull mountain that was there. And it was pretty cool to see that the second drop towered over Wild One. So I remember I was terrified of that thing. But very important. Also had the turntable. Very, very, very state of the art for its time. Then we got Roar. Shout out to Great Coasters International. Some of my good close friends are there. Again, we got a wooden twister coaster in the late 90s. I mean, we can't forget about, we were getting some good stuff. Wooden twister coasters were kind of becoming a thing in that time frame. And for us to get one so soon, and there's still people who are parks that didn't get their wooden twisters until late in the 2010 eras, when the recession happened and steel coasters were a little too expensive, so wooden coasters had a resurgence. But we had one since back then, and that shouldn't go overstated. There's the Great Chase, where we had some of our littlest ones got their chance to get on those coasters. The moment where they too maybe became little coaster enthusiasts and junkies. In '99, I remember Joker's Jinx being marketed when we got the Six Flags America commercial. Remember that little song that came on? And I was a little upset. I'm just quick funny moment. Like, the commercial, it used to show us Mr. Freeze, you remember? And I was thinking that we were getting that version. And then when we got the spaghetti ball, I was like, but this exists down the street.
They did that with Superman too, because when the Superman commercials came out, that one had an inversion. So when I saw
Viper
ours, I was like, I thought it was something. Like, you showing me a lie, but this is great. I love it.
I always thought the color scheme for Joker's Jinx was so cool, so unique. I always thought the name Joker's Jinx was so bad. It was so it was there, and I was very excited. And we can't forget its brethren that also joined the park across the street, right? Mr. Two-Face The
The
flip
flip
side, they
side.
called it. You know, it was gone too soon as well. You know, just going back down memory lane. Two-Face, the flip side. Also, again, another cutting edge ride because you everybody had a boomerang, but they took a departure and went with the inverted boomerang model. And I remember I was absolutely terrified of that one, but would sit there and watch it. And I finally rode it. I mean, that was the one that actually gave you the opportunity to face off on you know your opposing rider. Definitely something that was unique. And while it got cloned a bit, again for that time period, it was pretty cool. And get 6 inversions in one ride. Yep. Don't forget that one. And then we get to Superman Ride of Steel, 205 feet tall, 73 miles per hour. And then I think we always forget this part. 5,360 feet of track. It was over a mile long. Even if it does get relocated, it's going to be hard for them to find a place that can has enough land for something of that size to fit in it. I think it all, and then I'll always remember Superman for the night rides. It's the best night rides ever. I mean, you just disappear out in the woods, pitch black. And even that straight portion of track was fun in that pitch black darkness because that next hill came out of nowhere. I think I will always miss those. You had Batwing, which I'm going to just go ahead and say it. That's the ride that I'm going to miss the most. As a young enthusiast, and I was just early on the blogs, whether it was CoasterNet or whether it was some of the OG forums, I was in there. And I remember when the first pieces of steel popped up on property. And I always attribute one of my good friends, Sam Marks and stuff, because they used to run these remember those like little websites? Everybody had their personal websites and it had those little GIFs, almost like the Black Planet pages, but it was like a theme park website. Yeah, that. And I was like, you what? We're getting one of those? And again, 2001, like Six Flags America got the first flying coaster on the entire East Coast. And if you were trying to get an experience like that, you were going to have to go all the way over to California. So we were the first ones to introduce a whole style of ride experience on the East Coast. And I think people forget about that. So Six Flags was an innovator. It was a pioneer of new theme and roller coaster technology on the East Coast. Unfortunately, as we have already said, that was the last investment. Everything that came afterwards, shout out to Apocalypse, now Firebird, shout out to Raging Cajun. Those two rides, they just followed me, and maybe they missed me when I worked at America.
No, don't go.
And they found me again. They better not come to Florida. That's all I'm saying. They can stay up there.
All right, Raging Cajun gonna be a fun spot. Like,
but
Crazy Turtle or something.
Look, but you know, I agree with all the comments about investment and missed opportunities. I think here's what I would say, and this is just me. I'm not taking the Six Flags off, and I'm not speaking on behalf of the Universal. This is just raw me. I think that Six Flags America came at that same time where Six Flags as a whole grew too fast for its own, and it learned real quick how, you know, and keep in mind how history repeats itself. It learned real quick that it wasn't able to sustain that way. So those rides, those cost money. We're talking M's, and you got to make the recoup on that investment. And what also came with Six Flags as it grew, I mean, I remember hearing that this park hit 30,000 people in a single day. That's what I would say modern day, you know, great adventure numbers are, for a reference, right? It was that many people in a smaller park like Six Flags America. It did have a period where it was getting a little bit of bad press, and people were talking about bad experiences that they were having. Brichet, I know you were posting about it, and I'm not going to speak on my current place, but we saw people making similar comments about another new thing that had just opened earlier this year, right? Right. I can't, for reasons I can't say what I'm referring to, but everyone connects the dots. Um, it's tough when you got a lot of new stuff, especially if you have prototypical things and they tend to have problems and they get sorted out. I know when I worked at Six Flags America, there was someone who was there since the beginning of when Batwing was there. This person knew Batwing in and out, so much so that the people at the manufacturer blessed this person to be a person that could maintain that ride and kept it alive. And I think people forget how cutting edge some of these rides were. That, and I'm not going to get into all the technical engineering aspect of it, but I think with that large investment, you have to recover your investment. And the one thing that it'll tie all together when I finish, but I want to caution people is, again, going back to those words and those statements and things that people would say, it all ties back to people's perception. And people's perception does what? As I heard many of the blogs, I watch many of the bloggers. I appreciate all of you, but I watch your content, and I've heard a lot of comments, and a lot of these recent blogs were featuring guests, like people who are first times. Like a lot of these bloggers have been to the park before, but they're featuring guests who is their first time. And I've heard a number of comments saying, well, I just never visit the park because, why? Why would I? Where does someone get a perception like that if it isn't for being influenced by influencers or bloggers? And that's in the day of social media. But I want to also mention this. Six Flags America is in the capital of America. It is in the nation's capital. You know what else is in the nation capital? You were talking about ABC, right? This ain't just your average ABC. This is the national spot for ABC, also for Fox, also for NBC. It's like all of these major news articles. CNN is there, right? And I know this for a fact that anytime, even if we had a slight, fault on an attraction, and which every ride does, and you have a place where people are on the lift hill, like I saw happen on that last night. But if this at Six Flags America, that would make national news. Mm-hmm. And so Six Flags America, unfortunately, didn't need social media to become national news because it was right there in the nation's capital. They can just hop in a helicopter and get the footage, and now it's all on your TV. And it didn't help that the early stigmas perpetuated into the early blogging, I would say, community. And I think a lot of people, just as Mike has said earlier, hadn't even been to the park, but they would just hop on this bandwagon and make comments about the park just for clicks and likes. And what they forgot about is the people like me who are at the park, doing what they could to make it a good day for our guests. And so with that, it impacts people's visitation. That means attendance numbers aren't as high as they could have been or should be. And when the attendance numbers are not as high, that means the corporate levels decide to invest less into those locations for fear of lack of ROI, return on investment. Those return on investment cuts then perpetuate the system where people don't want to come to the park because there's nothing new. And over, you kept seeing this cycle perpetuate itself. And so I bring this now to the kind of final piece of this, is that, for everyone watching tonight, who feels the ache and feels the loss of a home park, the place where, your childhood summers lived, I see you. I'm right there with you all. I know what it's like to now have to face the idea of driving past those gates and not hearing any the laughter's gone. The tracks are going to be very still, and somehow the air is going to be very quiet. But we're not just losing rides; we're losing future memories, and it's unfortunate but I still remain optimistic. But I want to caution people just to remember that, you know, your words matter, and to love on your parks, your local parks. And I appreciate Mike saying he's going to visit every small park that he can, because you just never know, especially with the economy and where things are heading. You just never know when something might be determined not to be a good fit. And I think, yes, woulda, shoulda, coulda. If this park had enjoyed more appreciation, more support, more visitation, it might have gotten more regional investment, and it probably would have paid off, because I think everyone on this blog understood the potential. We knew it would cash in, and it just never saw that thing that would allow everybody to just highlight and cash in on it. Since 2001, that's a long time.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's two decades. So we were celebrating 25 years as Six Flags. At least they were. I'm not there anymore, but 24 of those, or 22 of those, or so, were without a new major investment, right? And even when we finally got something, even in '08, I was at Great America, but the park at Thomastown, that was such a good thing for that park, and then it immediately got stripped away. Just when things started getting good. But the team stayed resilient, and they still kept moving forward. So I mean, it is just a lesson that, you know, attend those parks that you can, cherish those memories, create new memories, support the staff, and sow joy in the community on your posts, on your blogs, because it's more than just steel and wood coasters. It's a community, it's a family, it's people who have made their careers here, and now what do they have to speak for that? And I'm optimistic because we have some of the best and brightest in that Six Flags core family. They will find places because they're too good to just lose. But just remember that, because before I mentioned how hard it is for people to even who look like me to find positions and upper levels and so forth. But it is my hope that though those gates of Six Flags America may be closing, that the property is still found to be full of potential, and that it will be a site where thrills and memories and communities for future decades to come will be able to call home. And maybe the park under a new identity will be able to capitalize on that potential. And so I find this as a chapter that's being closed. But I think if you look back in the history of Six Flags property, after that wildlife preserve, there was about 3 or 4
couple years,
wasn't doing anything, and then all of a sudden someone picked it up and called it Wild World. And so let's not forget that either, that there is still an opportunity. One other thing I wanted to mention is around that same time, and I'm not trying to rag on Six Flags necessarily as a company. It is more or less just saying where I believe Six Flags America's investment kind of subsided. But let's remember what took place in the early 2000s. You also saw the loss of Astroworld, saw the selling off of Geauga Lake. And so if the company was doing that, then it was going to be very selective on who, if any, park got some kind of new attraction, right? No parks wouldn't really be getting new attractions if there's parks that are closing and many of the new attractions that parks then got were relocated rides from those parks that had closed. And then you had an era where they were not building big rides, there were no more King of Cause and El Toros, and I think Goliath over Georgia was probably one of the last big ones that ever came. We did have a resurgence in the later 2010s, but history repeats itself. So everyone just keep in mind as what you're seeing here. It is a soft reminder. Just remember where we came from, and we're likely to see a wave of that again. I hope this pain doesn't find anyone, but for my Six Flags family, for those of you on here, we say goodbye today. And I just invite everyone to take a moment of reflection, close your eyes, if you will, and remember that clickety clack of the while in Lift Hill with rhythm. And think of those favorite summers. Think of that funnel cake you got as you kind of exit the park right there when you walk past the fountain and think of all of the memories that you have, because at this juncture, we have lost a very special place. As I said before at the beginning, this will forever be my home park. The thing that I'm most afraid of is that we will never see a park that was of this same makeup and so unique in so many ways. Hopefully, we will see a place, the same place, come alive again in the future. But if there was one thing I could say to Six Flags America and the team and the people I've come to call my theme park family, it would just be thank you. It's truly heartbreaking to be on a podcast like this and hearing that it's over the loss of a childhood park. It just doesn't seem real. It's going to take a minute for me too. I think the most nostalgic location in the park is the water park.
Yes,
it's the original thing, and it's still, for the longest, it still had that green that green grass.
yes.
And even Six Flags even took the Rainbow Falls and made it Zumazon Falls while I was there, and brought that back to life. So it's just some of that stuff there. And I apologize if I was getting too heavy there. It's hard, you guys, and but I hope I was able to bring some rationale to what I see. But I hope I also help people understand why this park matters, and I hope I encourage people to be more conscientious when it comes to the content that is put out, especially about these parks, and understand that Six Flags is not unique in any of the bad things that people were saying. It's the theme park industry in general. And then one last thing is to our beloved Eleanor. Oh, those who know the lore understand. I hope that she can finally find peace now through the silence. And although the laughter has faded in that area behind Wild One, may she also be able to treasure those memories. Those who know. But yes, I really appreciate the time, Verche, and thank everyone. And hope everyone can, as we close out the year, everyone can find a way to process the memories.
Thank you so much, friend. Even if I didn't know you, your story is what I would think about when I think about the potential of Six Flags America, of, like you said, seeing leadership that looked like us. Growing up in DC, which I didn't realize until going off to Oklahoma for school, like blackness was the norm. And that is not the norm everywhere. And I did not know that until going off to college. And that like from our government, from our local government, to our newscasters, Jim Vance and all of them, um, and then to take it all the way to the other side of the spectrum, to our amusement park. Everything about this area growing up was so black and so excellent. And it pains me, and I've said this before, I'm not only mourning the past of Six Flags America, I'm mourning the future that it's not going to have, and I'm mourning the potential and the opportunities that my black youth are not going to have, that they could have had. And then back to you being that dream realized, that potential realized, the proof in the pudding of what can spawn out of Six Flags America or a park like it, talking about how you didn't you weren't going to take the universal job because, you know, it's a big leap. It's big. And that park, those people, that insular community, they were the ones to push you along. And that's real community. We use the word community a lot as coaster enthusiasts, you know, the coaster community, da, 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 da. But when you really think about what a community is and how that community, like it said, oh, it takes a village to raise a child. A village is a community. You fight with and for one another at the end of the day, and you want the best for that next person, and you lean on them, they lean on you, and that was all there in Six Flags America. I've always felt that there, and maybe that's the Blackness coming through, because as the Black community, we know what community means. We know what community feel. When you are in true community, you feel it amongst one another. And I felt that going into the park. It was never a time where I went to the park and I didn't see somebody from another community that I was in also there. You know, Saturday before closing, I ran into my cousin. The day of closing, I'm running into high school and college friends. I'm running into people that I had my first job with DC government with. I'm running into all these people because it intersected all of our lives. And the same way that I could lean on them in those other communities, I'm sure the people who worked at Six Flags America created their own community. And you are a product of that. And that is why I wanted you to be a part of this, because I think your story is so important to not only be an example of what, you know, perseverance looks like, but also be an example of what we're losing in this.
Yeah. I was as I was doing this, I have my, y'all remember this color shirt? This is how old I am. I have my shirt that my team members signed as I was leaving and encouraging me along the way.
There you go.
Leap out. So I have this. They even wrote on the shorts that I was wearing. But this is like the relics that I have from Six Flags America, and I keep this with me even to this day. And then the last thought I forgot to mention is that, talking on that and expanding on what you just said, Brichet, how fitting is it that Six Flags America closed its gates under the leadership of a Black park president? I'm gonna call him the park president because that's who Ramar is. Mm-hmm. And even before him, we had Richard Pretlow. But I think, in my mind, as we talked about before, I'm not going to say only in America, but only at Six Flags America was that possible, right? And I think that that's never going to be lost on me. And how fitting is it for someone who had such a tenure for that park and for all the passion that he paved into that park. And Ramar is an amazing success story, but under Ramar was another long, big legacy of people who have long loved on that park, who were there, and to see one of their own rise to the top. Yeah. I might be one, and I ended up leaving, and like I said, it was hard. I think we were talking about, I didn't end up going to a HBCU, but if I did, I would imagine that it would have been feeling like it was like Six Flags America, because the way we had a sense of community, it's just something that I knew I would never find. And even to this day, in the role that I am, I'm a senior manager of ride and show engineering. I'm still now an only, right? I was never the only at Six Flags America. And so just processing that is hard, because it's such a special place. Yeah. Such a special place that I just feel like never got a fair shot, and always had the odds, up against it. but it's so resilient at the same time. And that's just me at my essence, because it's like, what would we do? We had no other choice. We had to still
Yep.
open, and we still had to deliver world-class service. And whether people understood it or not, that wasn't the point. It was the point of it still showing up. And so I really, 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 really appreciate everyone who did take the time to go and say goodbye. I was there in spirit, because yes, y'all would have had me in your blogs, and I would have been there looking like a
I
mess.
couldn't have held you up because I needed
Yeah,
to be
no,
held up.
no,
We
nope.
we
Hey,
falling on
look,
each
look,
other.
look. Look, y'all would there wouldn't have been there would have been more than just one person getting carried away from Batwing. The Batwing, Lord, no,
Lay prostrate over the switch track. Like, Lord, there go Deontay. Lord, don't lock him up. Lord, he didn't mean no harm.
Bring the church fans, fanning people down, right? Like that would have been
Listen,
me.
I got all the
And
fans now.
I heard that they were playing into the road, on the over the whole park PA system. It's like, where else would that happen, right? Yeah, it's like that, and I'm glad that a lot of people tapped in. I'm like, oh my God, you hear what they're playing? Like, yep,
Yes.
that is Six Flags America. That is who we are. It is just all of that, and but it's a good thing, right? The park had an energy, it had soul, it had, oh my gosh,
it's gonna be very hard to find a park that feels the way that one does.
Yeah.
I haven't yet been to a park that I walk in, I'm like, oh, this feels like Six Flags. The closest one is over Georgia. The closest, when I say Six Flags, y'all know I mean America, but the closest one is over Georgia. But still, that's because I don't have the connection to that one as much. But shout out to over Georgia, because I want to give Spencer a shout out. I ran into Spencer the last day, and he's the director of operations.
He signed this too.
He did.
Yes.
He's the director of operations over at Six Flags over Georgia. And when MCN did, at the time, I say our because I was a part when we did our Juneteenth, there Spencer, and there was another woman who Yasmin that were leading our ERT, and they showed us the red carpet treatment. Like, I haven't, like, Magic Mountain didn't treat us the way that, not saying that they treat us poorly, not saying that, but the level of care put into our experience as a Black coaster club from Black leadership at that park, that reminded me of home. Like, and it's very fitting that they did come through Six Flags America in their careers. So that's like go ahead.
Yeah, I was because I'm catching up on the story, the chat, and I'm seeing someone asked, was Ramar the only Black park president chain? Actually, no. Even before my time, it might not have been park president, but there was a Black corporate park person. His name was Rick Goff. A lot of people who in the Six Flags field know who that man was, but he was also at that park for a period of time and went on to SeaWorld and so forth. So this park has generated a lot of leaders who were Black and kind of spawned into the industry as well. I would say it is like the location where, if you have run across someone in the theme park industry who's in the leadership capacity, their path likely may have crossed through Six Flags America. I can name 4 people, one within Universal Creative, two who are senior managers, assistant managers, and operations in Universal, who also come and hail from the region and called Six Flags America home. So again, it definitely was a launching pad for a number of people for within the community.
Yes. Do you know if Ramar is currently, the only Black park manager, park president right now, or is there another? Do you know?
I do not know. I can't
Okay.
comment on that. Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, fact check on your own, y'all. We don't know that.
Did we ever get an answer on the mind eraser question?
Yes, we did. I can try to find that. I put it up, but we did get that from someone. Oh,
While
y'all
you
been
look that up,
talking. I appreciate that.
correct. I was like looking at the chat. While you look that up, one other thing that I will just jump in on is being in the position that I'm in. I get asked a couple questions even from my peers. They were encouraging me to take a trip home, and I just couldn't find a way to do it. So it was.
According to Caltech Center.
Look at that. See, often imitated, never duplicated. um, and the piece that I was going to say is what my hope for the park would be, right? So as a person who has created theme parks, I didn't even say what I've done. I just realized.
Oh,
that,
yeah.
right?
Go ahead. Say what you done.
Yeah. So went on and I did Universal's Volcano Bay water theme park. So first project out the gate was a new theme park for Orlando. Then I was the lead engineer for the Jurassic World Velocicoaster, Beyonce as you call her. And then I went on to be a part of Universal's Epic Universe Super Nintendo World. So went from the fastest dinosaur to the slowest dinosaur with Yoshi's Adventure. And got more things cooking, right? So the future is bright for us at Epic and all the things that are coming downstream. Definitely check it out. So shameless plug on that. But for this park, I oftentimes find myself reflecting on it, as I mentioned, and I would hope that someone picks up the park that could tap into the heart and the essence of the Baltimore, Washington, DC area, a park or a company that doesn't necessarily need IP to commercial IPs to brand this or find a way to market this park. I would hope that a company would find this that could tap into the local IP and truly leverage the fact that this is the nation's capital. And I say this out loud because I really, if this reaches other people or someone out there, I would rather these words refrain in their minds and they maybe use this if they're going into conversations, Walla Blagay, if she's listening, it'd be good for the county commissioners and, to really find a company that has made a good reputation in capturing the true spirit of the location and the community and could breathe new life in the park. And I do feel like Hershen would be a great, fit if they were ever so interested, and we would be lucky enough. I do appreciate that a lot of what I find in their parks taps into the local culture, and the IP there is so palpable and relatable to so many. I also think that considering that, again, it's the nation's capital and there's the nation's history and all of that involved. And then you have the uniqueness about the Mid-Atlantic region and all the kind of early foundings of this country that they could really capitalize on that with all the many tourists and school groups that come to the region. If you just tapped in on that, you could almost follow the same fun spot philosophy where they are just in the shadows of these regional these international destinations, yet they are successful because of what they're able to pull from. And I think it's a shame that people came to the region for nation's capital, but in the nation's history, but could never really translate that into a themed experience. And that's something that this property could definitely tap into. And then as much as that, they could tap into the local culture of the Chesapeake and
listen, Crab Fest is easy to have, okay?
Correct, right?
A big Crab Fest.
Right. Where
you can eat.
Where else could you get a seafood boil, right?
You right there.
Um,
Go to Baltimore, get some crabs,
right, right.
sell
Like,
some tickets.
ain't really
Crab
any.
fest,
There's no import fees. It's right there. It's
right
Maryland.
there.
Yeah, get you some crab. Get you some obey on these fries.
Mm.
But but
Instead of them
but
crab fries they give you at Hershey at Chicky and Pete's, we could have had some real
correct.
crab fries.
Correct. I mean, so I think that that would be really cool because a company has shown that they embrace that, and I think that that would make me feel very comfortable. So if they're listening and they see this, please. But I also would say that my company would also be it would be cool to see that. Although I don't speak on that behalf, I don't have any insights to what we are, so I'm not speaking in that official capacity. Full disclaimer there, but it is still my hopes, right? And that's a selfish plug because how great would it be for me to have that opportunity to maybe be in the midst to help shape the future of the park that paved the way for my future, full circle moment, right? But those are big wishes and big dreams. But if I'm any testament to anything, we know that dreams can come true. So
You did not miss. Sorry, you did not miss the crab fries. These are things we wish would have happened. Parker.
we were talking about things that, like, considering where we're from, why wasn't this something that was readily in this park, right? And that's why can't you tap into that, right? That's like going to Dollywood and not getting grandma's, bread. Like, can you imagine? Like, so how do you go to a Maryland theme park and not get crabs, like, or anything that's like notable within the region? So I just think there's a lot of missed opportunities. You also had two major NFL teams within throws away, and not a lot of synergy there. So there's a lot of opportunity that could have been leveraged, in that regard. You look at what Kennywood did with the Steelers, it was an opportunity there as well. In the how cool is, like, the names. You could literally have a ride called the Commander, and you can have a ride called the Raven. Granted, well, you have to put like a trademark on it because you can't take it from the other Raven. but you know what I'm going
we'll
at,
figure
right?
it out.
Yeah, but there's an opportunity there that it would have been pretty cool, and I still think are opportunities that someone in the future could leverage. So I just think that there's that, and I think another thing that I mentioned was the marketing of that would have to be completely different. It wouldn't be, I think someone wrote Universal's America Resort or Herschen's America. No, I don't think that would be a good strategy, right? Why? Because when you Google something like Six Flags America, how many of y'all Googled Six Flags American, and what else popped up? What popped up? Great
America.
Or the other Great America.
California's Great America.
Right? People, if you talk to someone about Six Flags America, this looks cool, but this looks like it's a corporate shirt for the U.S. branch of chains that is Six Flags America.
People thought that all Six Flags were closing in America because of the name.
You almost needed to have the name be kind of what our tagline used to be, right? I still remember. And don't forget, upgrade your one-day ticket to a Six Flags America annual pass. And our biggest tagline was your nation's capital of fun, right? What if it was Six Flags nation's capital of fun, or capital of fun, or something like that would have been more unique to the location and not something that was so broad that it didn't necessarily pinpoint where it was. And when you have so many parks that have that Six Flags branding, you got to have unique things that really point them out so that they drive people to visit your sites, like the clicks. You as a blogger, you guys know what it's like to market your content.
SEO.
You got to have something that's unique that brings people to your channel. You can't be putting something out that's going to then send somebody to someone else's stuff, right? You need to click. So I think there was a lot of opportunities in that one could have leveraged. But again, we can't cry over the past. Again, I'm just speaking towards opportunity that I would see for this area. So hopefully there's some good conversations and some good potential bids that are coming forward. I can only pray. I'm staying cautiously optimistic. Again, it's Six Flags America, Adventure World, Wild World, my forever home park. Thank you, Bree, for this opportunity to kind of process live with everyone.
Yeah.
So
Thank
much more
you.
eulogy, but
I mean, that's a great eulogy. I'm sure the chat appreciates that, especially because you're someone who we don't get to hear from very often. And there's a lot of people who don't know your full story. They know the now, but not the past. And I think this was a great opportunity for people to learn more about you as well as Six Flags America because your paths did cross. So thank you again, friend.
you're both welcome, and I'm thankful that we have this park in common, and I'm
Yes.
thankful that I have this park in common with everyone who's been uh, tuning in and sharing some really good comments in here. It is something that I think we'll always be united by. So,
Yes. Yes, it will. So thank you, friend. I'll call you later.
all right,
All right. Bye.
Velocicoaster.
For life. Oh man. Like, wasn't this a great service? Like, if I couldn't have um couldn't have thought that it would turn out better, even with the technological hiccups, because at the end of the day, what's most important is that if you didn't know about the park or you had a certain perception of the park, I'm glad you got to learn something new. I'm pretty sure everyone here watching has learned something new about Six Flags America, and that was the purpose of even doing this. So next we will have the benediction, which is just closing remarks. Um, love on your parks. Okay. Love on your parks. I don't want anyone to feel how I feel. I don't want anyone to go through this. I never thought that I would be in company with those who lost Astro World or Geauga Lake. I'm very thankful that we did get a send off and we didn't just, close the season and then it never opened again. Like that, I would have been bitter. I would have been bitter if that would have happened. Um, so love on your parks, big and small, especially small if you want them to stick around. Visit, patronize, buy the merch, you know, get something to eat. You may not have a lot of money to spend when you go to a park. I know I don't. But now I'm going to be thinking about maybe a keychain, maybe a magnet, something to help drive revenue somewhere that I think deserves to stick around because every one of our dollars counts. As a common thread throughout this, be mindful of the words you say and the words you type. We often don't understand the reach. And with reach comes impact, and impact is not always positive. That impact can be negative, and that impact can be lasting. So, as we close out, I just want to thank everybody who joined the live. I want to thank Mike. I want to thank Sean. I want to thank Deontay. And I want to thank Yolanda for her words in helping this service be what it is and was. And with that, I will say goodbye to you all. I can't wait to watch this back and actually read all of the comments. Sorry if I didn't get to your comment. It was a lot going on. The good thing is I can monetize this because I didn't get to play those songs. So I can get me like 50 cents. So y'all go back and rewatch this from the beginning and just have it just go so I can give me a couple cents, y'all. You know, Dewena, she done gave me a super chat. Thank you, girl. That 199, I can use that. And y'all's views, I can use them 50 cents because it's gonna take me way more gas to get down to King's Dominion than it would take me to get to Six Flags America. So if you want me to keep doing content and have a new home, I can't call it my home park yet. It's like my Airbnb park, right? Like, I don't know what to call it yet. When it's your closest park, but it's not your home park. I don't know. I don't have to think about it right now. I got a whole season to figure things out. But watch this, and please watch my other videos. Go to some other Six Flags America videos, because I can use 50 cents in my account, from your views. Girl needs that gas money for grit. Why are we talking about Grizzly? I'll leave y'all with this, because let's talk about perception and responsibility. Okay, I'm gonna leave this here. One of my last visits I think my last visit at King's Dominion, I was riding Grizzly. Okay, let me put this up there because this is why I'm talking about it. I was riding Grizzly, and something happened that we as coaster enthusiasts were like, oh, that'll never happen. There are safeguards against these things happening and all that. Well, I was riding Grizzly, and a final turnaround, my lap bar came up. Not my seatbelt, like I believe what happened on Mamba at Worlds of Fun, but my lap bar, which was ratcheted down. I did have good air time. I had space. I wasn't stapled, but it came all the way up. Okay. And I didn't notice until we hit the brakes and I turned and I looked down and I was like, yo, my lap bar is up. And my friend had the glasses, the meta glasses, and she was recording. So I have it on video. I may not be a big content creator. I appreciate everyone who watches any of my content, who engages with any of my content, but I still feel like I have a responsibility to the parks that I go to, and the people that watch my content. And if I would have put that video out there, which I have the video, and I very well could have put that out there and made it, not saying it wasn't a big deal, because it totally is a big deal. But been irresponsible with how I handle that as a content creator. Let's just say that's not the type of engagement that I'm looking for long term in my page. If I haven't found a responsible way to put that out there, so I haven't. But if I do, then I will. But I want to be fair to the park, because as soon as we rode into the station, I got the ride op's attention, told him, I pointed at my lap bar. He saw that it was up. He was like, oh my God. I told the supervisor. The supervisor looked at the video. He did his job of saying, well, you're not supposed to record. But as soon as he said you're not supposed to record, and we got to the part where my lap bar popped up, none of that other stuff mattered. They took that train offline. I went to guest services. I let them know about it too. I even sent an email. I did all of the responsible things instead of just being like, let me put this to the internet because I already know like something like this is going to get a lot of views, and the news could have picked that up, And for all I know, something happened during maintenance where something could be beyond their control. I don't know. But I let the people who could fix something know. I didn't take it to the public and didn't give the park the chance to rectify the situation. So just want to put that out there. Like, as a content creator, I'm not just preaching to be responsible with your content. I try to live by that as well. So yeah. Thank y'all for joining, and long live SFA. It lives in my heart. And I hope it lives in y'all's too. So have a good night and hit me up on IG and watch some of my other videos. So I give me some 50 cents. Thank y'all. Bye.